Now, girl, where is this going? Where is this? Where is this going? She was out there getting them buns buttered. I hate to break it to you. That's crazy. This would be something that would cause me to crash out. Hello, little enzymes. Welcome back to Dacia's Digest. The topic for today is a man's wife goes out at night, doesn't come back home until 6 in the morning. And we will also be reading a submission from our Dacia's Digest subreddit. As I mentioned in a previous video, I'm going to try to get through some of the submissions that we've had on that subreddit. My apologies. I totally forgot about the subreddit, and these have been sitting here for months. So for the next couple of videos, I will be referring to that sub for our warm-up stories. All of the information will be included in the description. If you see or hear anything in this video that you might be interested in where I purchased it, those links will be included. For example, this hoodie I got from Comfort. I love it. I love Comfort. Most of the hoodies that I wear on this channel are from Comfort. I also have the matching sweatpants. They're just I'm 5'8". I weigh about 165, so I'm like tall, you know? And so a lot of times it's hard to find things that like fit oversized, but Comfort delivers. Anyways, this is not an ad. I just really like their stuff. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get into it. So the first story, as I said, is from our subreddit. It is, if our relationship was so bad, why am I still not over it? New to posting on Reddit, just need some opinions. We broke up over a year ago after 3 long, messy years together. The beginning was beautiful, full of good days, shared views, and connection. That didn't last long, though. We ended up arguing constantly, manipulating each other, and dealing with insecurity issues. A lot of that insecurity stemmed from me, 25 female, if I'm being honest. I wasn't physically attracted to him, 27 male, even early on, but I loved his mind, his energy, his drive. About 2 or 3 months in, I realized the attraction was a deal breaker for me. 2 to 3 months in, but y'all lasted 3 years? How did that work? Okay, about 2 to 3 months in, I realized the attraction was a deal breaker for me. I tried to end it, saying we weren't compatible. He literally got on his knees and begged me to stay. That kind of emotional intensity became a pattern, with me trying to end things because I didn't see a future without attraction, and him falling apart or convincing me to stay every time I tried to leave. I'd cave. Spoiler, he would later resent me for this time period of making him beg. Eventually, I fell really deep. He was an amazing person, he just wasn't my type. I saw so much potential in him and us, but there was always this underlying feeling that I wasn't truly proud to be with him, and he felt that. The constant negative comments from friends, family, and even acquaintances didn't help. It ate away at him, revived his old bullying traumas, and made things worse. Girl, you should have just left when you should have just left. You should have just left. She said, we ended up in this cycle where he felt unloved and I felt trapped. He would tell me often my type would never treat me well, and he was the best man I would meet. I was young in college and recently dogged by the athlete type, so I believed it. In our relationship, I wasn't very reassuring. I'll admit I had wandering eyes and initially wasn't emotionally present. But he clung tighter, sometimes in manipulative or obsessive ways. The arguments got more frequent, more toxic. He'd say I didn't treat him right and try to humble me often. He wasn't wrong, but he didn't go about it well. I also had my toxic ways. I knew he wanted me badly, so I initially didn't put in the effort to keep him the way I had in previous situations. I felt like the complete prize. I changed this after really falling for him, but he never truly got over things, feeling one-sided for the first few months. About a year in, I cheated on him while blackout drunk. Now, girl, where is this going? Where is this? Where is this going? Where is this going? Come on now. I mean, you definitely were honest, but sis, it was already doomed from the start. 2 or 3 months in, you wasn't even attracted to the man. A year in, you cheating on him. Child. Anyway, about a year in, I cheated on him while blackout drunk with someone he knew. We were not intimate, but in a sloppily drunken state, I tried to be, going so far as getting naked. Oh, so I guess you had the intention to cheat? She said, had the person not rejected my advances, we would have been intimate. It wouldn't have happened if I were sober, but that doesn't excuse it. I have never cheated before or after. I told him the very next morning out of guilt. My ex stayed, but he never really forgave me. Instead, it was like he finally had ammo, using the guilt to control me and tear down my self worth for the rest of the relationship. I let him, hoping that if he would forgive me, I'd feel clean again. I never did. The shame still haunts me to this day. Girl, let it go. You ain't even really do nothing for real. I don't condone cheating. I don't condone cheating. But you really didn't even do nothing for real. Like, I mean, it was wrong. You shouldn't have been in that situation. It was wrong. You admitted to it. You didn't do anything before or after. He supposedly forgave you. If he chose to forgive you, y'all need to move past it. You can't keep holding on to it. Just let it go. She said things got much worse after that situation. The script completely flipped, and it was like I was the one doing all the work to keep us together. He completely shut down any validation or reciprocation and would hit with low blows during arguments. Towards the end, the fights escalated and became practically daily. He started raising his voice more, yelling like a maniac when we would argue and throw things. Another time, he took my car keys during a fight and pinned me down to the bed to prevent me leaving. It didn't hurt, but it scared me. I stayed because I felt I deserved it. His anger seemed warranted to me at the time. The last straw for me was one day I just couldn't take the emotional unavailability and constant picking fights. I broke down and begged him to act like a boyfriend, to love me in a way I could feel, to allow us to have one good day, and he coldly admitted he couldn't anymore. That was it for me. It was like him saying I could never earn his forgiveness finally set me free. I broke it off that day and later realized he blocked me on everything: messages, Twitter, Insta, even TikTok. He reached out twice afterwards, 1 month and 5 months later, trying to rekindle with the same guilt tactics. I declined. We haven't spoken or seen each other since. So why am I still haunted by this relationship? I'm in a new relationship now, healthy, loving, safe, but I still catch myself spiraling emotionally when I hear a song that reminds me of him or see an old photo. I find myself rereading old diary entries or listening to voice memos from the breakup just to validate my own choice to leave. I almost have to remind myself he actually did things to me too. It's like I forgot what happened. All I know is it still makes me go for long emotional drives sometimes and get in these little funks. Let me pause here before I forget what I'm going to say. Many things can be going on here, and I know it's going to sound, cliche, but if I were you, I would start thinking about your childhood. How did you grow up? How's your relationship with your parents? Mainly, yeah, how was your relationship with your parents? Because that says a lot about the things that you accept and the way that you relate in romantic relationships. You might be yearning for the past because it fulfilled something in you that was familiar based on the way that you grew up. What exactly that is, I don't know. I would suggest that you see a therapist. Or if you can't quite afford a therapist yet, hold on. There's this. So yeah, if you can't quite afford a therapist yet, there's this book. I'm always recommending it to people. It's called Women Who Love Too Much. I'll put the link in the description. It is so good at looking at different stories of different women and how they grew up and how their relationship with their parents and in, the home that they grew up in affects the romantic relationships that they have in their adulthood. Very eye-opening, and I'm sure you could probably find something in here that you can relate to. It does say Women Who Love Too Much. Anyone can read this. I think, this was written in like the 80s. So, but the themes still are relevant. I might read a passage in a second, but just the fact that in the beginning of the relationship, you weren't really initially attracted to him, but he basically like begged for you to stay. It's almost like that feeling of somebody wanting you so bad that they would beg. Like, dang, you really like me. Like, you begging, even though I'm telling you I don't want you, you're begging for me to stay. And then on top of that, you was just with an athlete type, which you was just with an athlete type who dogged you out, according to you. So it's like, oh, well, shoot, maybe this really is like how relationships are supposed to go. Maybe somebody is supposed to just be that, I don't know what the word would be, enamored or have that much of a desire for you that they would just beg for you to stay. And then comes the guilt because deep down, you know you really don't like this man for real. You end up almost cheating. You feel so guilty because this is not the type of person that you know yourself to be. And it's weighing on you heavy. But it's because you got caught up in this situation that you shouldn't have been in the first place. But now you feel so guilty to the point where you're accepting all types of mistreatment in order to feel like you're absolved of the guilt of not even fully cheating for real, but you consider it to be cheating. And it's just like a vicious cycle. I think at that point, you probably felt obligated to him because you're the one that gave him the chance. He begged for you to stay. You're the one that messed up. This is how you're thinking in your mind. So everything that he's doing that's like harmful to you, you're accepting because you still have to pay for your sins. That's like the thought process. On his end, it's almost the opposite. He really wanted to be in a relationship with you. He finally got you. Then, like you said, he finally had a reason, quote unquote, to have the upper hand in the relationship almost. And he took full advantage of that. Both of y'all need therapy. Go to therapy or read this book. Let me finish the post and then I might read an excerpt from the book if I can find one really quick that I feel like might be relevant to this situation. So, sorry for the tangent, but she said, sometimes I wonder if I feel stuck because I was the villain for cheating. Maybe I feel like I don't deserve peace. I don't know. One last thread connecting us is this thrifted jacket of his I've kept all this time. He loved it and he can't really replace it because it was a thrift find. I've thought about silently dropping it off at his door more times than I can count. Lately, though, I felt this intense desire to instead reach out and ask if he still wants it. Truthfully, I know it's not really about the jacket. While I do want to give it back, it's more about wanting to open a door for a potential closure conversation. I don't know if that's manipulative or not, especially after all this time. I also don't want to cross a line with my new partner. I am worried this lingering energy could weigh down what I have now, which is genuinely good. I tend to shut off my emotions and be cold or cut and dry when I cut people off, but lately I've been wondering if I was too harsh or too fast. I'm wondering if these funks are signs we have unspoken words. I just don't know how to move. If the relationship was so clearly unhealthy, why do I still feel like this? Is reaching out about the jacket crossing a line with my new partner or opening an unnecessary door? Again, I don't think that I could definitively say. I think the best option here would be to seek the advice of a therapist because they would probably have better, steps for you to take. They might say, yes, actually, if you want closure, have a conversation, whatever, like, or they might say, no, give the jacket back, cut all ties. I honestly really don't know. What I would probably say is the relationship sounded very toxic. I think what you're feeling is just guilt and you feel like you want to be absolved of the guilt. At the end of the day, you just have to forgive yourself for the things that you did wrong, forgive him for the things that he did wrong. You learn from it, it's part of your past. I personally would just move on. Leave the jacket at his door if you want. I personally would just completely cut all ties. It wasn't a good situation. You're in a good situation right now. Just let it be that. Just let it be that and move on. Okay, this might be a good excerpt. Basically, the story is about a woman who, and sorry, is a spoiler if you decide to read this book, but there's different stories within the book that she covers. So this is just one of them. But It's a woman whose mother was an alcoholic, and she basically had to pick up the slack and become the mother role in the house because her mom could not. And so it says Lisa's deep attachment to her mother and the great sacrifice of her own needs and wants that this attachment required prepared her for later love relationships that involved suffering rather than any kind of personal fulfillment. She had made a profound decision as a child that she would rectify any difficulty in her mother's life through the power of her own love and selflessness. That decision soon became unconscious, but it continued to drive her. Totally unaccustomed to assessing ways of securing her own well being, but expert in promoting the well being of others, she moved into relationships that held the promise of another opportunity to make everything right for another person through the force of her love. True to her history, failure to win that love through her efforts only made her try harder. If our parents related to us in hostile, critical, cruel, manipulative, overbearing, overdependent, or otherwise inappropriate ways, that is what will feel right to us when we meet someone who expresses, perhaps very subtly, undertones of the same attitudes and behaviors. We will feel at home with people with whom our earlier unhealthy patterns of relating are recreated, and perhaps awkward and ill at ease with gentler, kinder, or otherwise healthier individuals. Like I said, the way that we are raised, the way that we relate to our parents in our childhood and adolescence basically spills over into our adult relationships. That is what we're used to, and that is what could feel comfortable. And I don't know if this is your situation, but that might be a reason why, even though you're in a really good situation right now, it just feels like, I don't know, what about this old thing that was very toxic and unhealthy? Because again, I don't know if this is true for you, but perhaps your environment growing up may have mirrored that toxic relationship that you had, and that it just feels familiar to you. It just feels like something comfortable for you. And maybe that's also a reason why you want to go back. Maybe not. But like I said, therapy or this book. Somebody did leave a comment on here. Again, this was 2 months ago. My apologies. Someone said, leave him where he is. You need to detox from some people, and he is for sure one. Get rid of his stuff, ship it back via FedEx, but don't give yourself excuses to fall back into this cycle of crap. Learn to forgive others, but for sure yourself, and be intentional about being a good person and putting out good into the world, and it'll come back to you for sure. Toxic isn't cute or fun, but it's something about it that can be addicting. But a healthy, drama-free relationship is worth so much more than that. Opie responded, thank you so much for the advice. I have been thinking more not to drop it, especially with what can of worms it could open in my super healthy relationship now. Appreciate it. Girl, like I said, I'm not a professional. I hope that helped. I'm still learning myself. I still make mistakes myself. I'll just leave it at that. Let's go to the next story. My wife went out last night and didn't come home until this morning. This is horrible. I'm furious right now, but I'm also depressed as hell. I know what I have to do. It's just killing me that I have to do it. It's fresh and it hurts a lot. My wife didn't come home last night. She went out with a couple of girlfriends, which is pretty normal for her. She's normally back around 2 a.m. on these nights, so I waited up. Around 2:30, I called to check in. She answered, and I could hear people in the background. She told me they went to a party, but were leaving in a couple of minutes. She wasn't home by 3, so I texted. It delivered, but no reply. Around 4 a.m., I called again. It rang a couple of times before she sent me to voicemail. She was out there getting them buns buttered. I hate to break it to you. Man, there's no reason a wife, a partner, a spouse, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, anything should be out past 2 a.m. without their person. I mean, 3 a.m., the bars close at 2. You leave time, maybe you get something to eat afterwards. I'll say 3, 4 at the late. That's really pushing it. For a wife, I think 2 a.m. is really pushing it. She ain't come back till 6:47 a.m. Anyway, she sent him to voicemail. He said, "My wife finally came stumbling through the door at 6:47 this morning. I know the exact time because I was worried. She was wearing a dress that she didn't leave the house in." Oh. Ah. With mesh leggings I've never seen either. The leggings had clearly been torn and her makeup was smudged. Man. My heart sank when I saw her. My immediate worry was that she had been assaulted. She only shook her head no when I asked her that. I asked her what she had been doing then. She only said that I knew what she had been doing. Oh. And that kind of confirmed what the voice in the back of my head had been screaming since she walked in. My wife cheated on me last night. Yeah, she did. He said, I asked her who it was. She shrugged almost casually and said it was somebody they met at the club. Damn, why is she so cavalier? Is that the right word? Hold on. Cavalier. Showing a lack of proper concern offhand. Right. Why is she so cavalier about cheating? Oh, it was just somebody I met at the club. Just like this is your husband. Opie said she went back to his house and hooked up with him, then Ubered home. She then said she didn't want to fight and just wanted to sleep, so that's what she did. She's still asleep now and didn't even take a shower before passing out. Suffice it to say, our relationship is over. We don't have any kids and we rent, so it shouldn't be an extremely complicated process. I keep trying to reason myself out of it, pretending there might be something to salvage here. I've always maintained that cheating would be a red line for me, though. I think I need to stick to that now. Sorry, bro. I am sorry. I wonder how long they've been married. That sucks. And just the fact that she's just so like nonchalant about it, like, oh, it was just somebody I met at the club. I want to go to sleep. Didn't even take a shower. You got your buttered buns in my sheets, buttered by another man. Somebody said you keep trying to reason yourself out of it because this just happened and you're still in shock. The feeling of betrayal is still going to be there when the shock fades, so don't let yourself humor her now. Also, just to be 100% safe, I'd recommend an STD screening. This might not be the first time she's done something of this nature. OP responded, I really don't think she's done this multiple times. If she had, she'd likely have come home and told me right away anyways. She's always been the type of person who can't keep things bottled inside. I will get tested though, it can't hurt, though I am a little scared of needles. Someone else responded, you didn't think she'd do it the first time either. It doesn't hurt to be safe, then sorry. If she's done it once, you would proceed in the assumption she's done it before, especially given her attitude. Another person responded, agreed, this was way too blatant for a first timer. Trying to wrap my mind around someone ballsy enough to come home in a different dress. That was crazy. So, did she have the other dress in the car? It's almost like those kids that they want to be fast at school, so they like put a different outfit in their backpack, and when they get to school, they change so their parents don't see them leaving in the outfit that they know they're not supposed to wear. Like, so were you planning to do this? I need some answers. Someone else said, dang, sounds like she wanted you to catch her. Like, this is not the first time. Opie responded, that thought has crossed my mind too. How casual she was about it doesn't match with the fact that she came home in clothes I've literally never seen her in. Another comment, if cheating is your deal breaker and it's a totally reasonable one, the deal has been broken. When she wakes up, she's going to give you the whole song and dance that she was drunk, that she loves you, etc. But the truth is, she broke your trust and your heart and your vows. Stick to your guns and leave the woman who doesn't respect you enough to stay faithful. I do agree. OP responded, thank you. I don't know why it helps to hear it from another person, but it really does. I honestly don't know that I want to hear her out right now. It's not like I'm going to believe anything she tells me anyway. And then another comment, buddy, do yourself a favor and think about the reasons why you would cheat. Try really, really, really hard. Still can't think of any? It's because it's not an option to you. You made a conscious decision to be with your partner and to be faithful. You can't be pried with liquor and compliments because you loved her. Now, that's what you deserve back from your partner. If she can't give you that, Regardless of the excuses she might give to you, she's not worth your love. That love could be invested in someone who gives it back in return. OP, holy crap, dude, this one hit me hard. Thank you. Update after 2 days. Me again, folks. I'm sorry I didn't get around to this sooner. I wasn't able to get the day off work yesterday because my boss kind of sucks. I was a complete mess at work yesterday, though, so I was allowed to take the rest of the week as vacation, thankfully. I think I went through all the stages of grief while my soon to be ex was sleeping. I wasn't expecting my post to get any attention at all. I just figured I needed to try to talk to someone about it because I was not in a good headspace. I made the post in the morning, and by noon, she was still conked out in the bedroom. I had processed things a bit more, and I had a rough plan in my head that I was starting to set in motion. I made a short list of questions I wanted answers to, gathered up all my important documents, laptop, etc. Then I went into the bedroom and started packing myself a suitcase. I know a lot of folks wanted me to kick her out. I did consider it, but honestly, I'm not overly attached to this place. We just rent, and I'm in a lucky enough situation to be able to say that paying half the rent for a few months isn't going to financially end me. It will sting a little bit, I won't lie, but I'll make it, and I feel like being around this place is only going to remind me of her anyway. I need to be looking forward, not back. She ended up waking up about halfway through me packing my suitcase. There was momentary confusion as she looked around the room, then she just started bawling. Maybe this is awful of me, but I didn't bother comforting her. I told her I had the screenshots of her Uber and text messages from her phone, and that plus her confirmation was enough that things between us were completely done. She didn't answer me and just cried louder. I debated trying to continue the conversation, but I decided to just pack the rest of my suitcase and head back out to the living room until she came out. Yeah. When she finally left the bedroom, she sat next to me on the couch and asked me if we could talk things through. I told her as calmly as possible that wasn't how things were going to work. I was going to ask questions. I wanted honest answers. She told me she would be honest, so I proceeded. My voice was shaking the entire time. It was taking everything in me to hold it together, but I kept going. The first question, was this the first time she had cheated? She started crying before she answered that, then told me no, of course, because if you had the audacity to walk in to your house as a wife at 6:47 in the morning in a different pair of clothes and just be like, look, I messed around with somebody that I met at the club, bro. Just let me go to sleep. What? What? There's no way she was that comfortable coming in the house like that if she hadn't done it before. Anyway, yeah, so she said no. She had cheated on him multiple times over the course of the relationship. It was, and I'm going to use her words exactly here, just intimacy, a way for me to let off steam. None of it ever meant anything. End quote. That's really crazy. That's really crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. Why be in a monogamous relationship if you're gonna do that? Why not just find somebody who's also okay with an open relationship? It's because you don't want them doing it too. That's what the problem is. Bro, I feel for this man. This would be something that would cause me to crash out. What do you mean you've cheated on me multiple times over the course of the relationship? Bro. OP says, I wrote a comment shortly after making my post that all the love couldn't just fade away in one swoop. Well, it can. It hit me right then that I wasn't dealing with my wife. The person I was married to literally wasn't in the room. This was someone different. She refused to tell me exactly how many times she had cheated, just more than last night. Had she used protection? No hesitation from her before she nodded her head emphatically. She seemed surprised I'd even ask that. I'm still going to get tested just to be safe. I did some research into timing and I'm going to look after it. Were her friends also cheating on their spouses? Yes and no. I tried to get her to tell me which of her friends were cheating so I could get in contact with their spouses. She probably should have because her refusal led to me messaging pretty much the romantic partner of every one of her girlfriends I could find on social media. There are a couple I don't know or couldn't find, but I did my part. Why did she do it? This was the answer that gutted me the most. I'm going to use her exact words again. I needed to have sexual variety. End quote. I told her that it's not like our intimate life is dull. She clarified, quote, it's not the same as something new. End quote. Look, again, if that is important to you, there's no reason for you to cheat. Find a partner better suited to your needs. How many times do we have to say this? It's 2025. There are a plethora of different relationship types out there. But to disrespect your vows in this way, like you're married. It would still be bad if they were boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. I just feel like married, that's even worse. Y'all made vows. Y'all had a whole ceremony, everything. Like that's supposed to mean something. Opie said I didn't even have a response to that. I had expected something about me working too much or not supporting her emotionally. Nope. She just messed around with other guys because she felt like it and wanted to have some fun. When I didn't respond, she started asking me about counseling and therapy. I reiterated that our relationship was over. I would be leaving. What she did next disgusted me. My ex actually tried to be intimate with me. Girl, come on. She put her hands on me and started trying to take off my clothes. I felt like I wanted to vomit and pushed her away after a couple of seconds. She just kept telling me that she would figure out a way to fix it and that we would work through it together. You should have been thinking about that before the first time you cheated. Even just trying to give her a little, maybe after the first time. But no, you did it again and again and again and again. No telling how many times because you won't admit to it at least twice and likely way more than that. Anyway, after she tried to push herself onto him, he pushed her away after a couple of seconds. She just kept telling me that she would figure out a way to fix it and that we would work through this together. I told her that there was no way, and she started bawling again. She went to the bathroom and locked herself inside. I was just sick of everything at that point. I called her mother and told her what was going on. The full story, too. The cheating, the questions I had asked, and the fact that I was leaving. I've always had a good relationship with my ex's parents. They both decided to drive to town, which is about an hour for them. Once I knew someone was on the way, I just grabbed my things and left. Her waterworks in the bathroom were just annoying me because it felt hollow to me, especially given the answers to my questions. I ended up packing another bag before I left and took all the things that I could think of that I felt sentimental attachment to with me. I found a parking lot and sat in my car until I was able to get in contact with a buddy for a place to crash. I tried to take a nap, but I was running on way too much adrenaline. I knew when her parents had made it to the apartment because she started calling me. When I didn't answer those, she started texting me. She had gone from sad and crying to furious. Apparently, I'm a, quote, effing piece of crap for telling her mom everything. Whoops, I'm not sorry. What did she expect? Really, what did she expect? He said, I've received roughly 100 texts from her since leaving. They range from name calling all the way to begging me to come back, to sending me pictures of the food she ate for some reason. I haven't responded to any of them. I feel like I said my piece before leaving. So that's where I'm at now. We didn't have joint finances, so that part was easy. I canceled all the subscriptions that go to my credit card just to be sure and changed all my important passwords. I'm crashing on a friend's couch for the next bit, but I've got some feelers out to some short-term rental places until I can find something more permanent. I've got feelers out for a divorce attorney too. A coworker of mine had a recommendation, so barring something better, I'll probably go with them. I also wanted to say that I was shocked how supportive everyone was, and thank you for that. Truly, from the bottom of my heart, it isn't easy for me to talk about emotional things with people close to me. This was an invaluable venting place for me. Thank you all so much. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Honestly, for me though, her being like, she just did it just to did it. She just did it just to do it. For me, that would almost be like a blessing in disguise, because it's like I would know that nothing that I could have done would have made the situation different. Like it had nothing, absolutely nothing to do with OP. And with that in mind, it's like, well, it's all on her. I mean, realistically, either way, it still is all on her, right? But like, psychologically, you can get into that, like, well, maybe like he said, he was thinking she was going to say he wasn't emotionally available or he was working too much or XYZ. But the fact that she was just like, no, I just need to do it. I needed some variety. It's like, oh, so you're a bitch. Okay. That would make it way easier to let it go for me. So I'm just going to skip to the final update, which was after 4 months. Hey, folks, I'm happy, I guess, to say that this will be the final update to what has been probably the most difficult chapter of my life. I've felt an immense amount of support from the community here from my initial 2 posts, so I wanted to give a short update. Bottom line, my ex and I both signed the final papers for our divorce this week. It feels kind of surreal to think about that still. About 2 weeks into everything, she got resistant. I cut her off entirely and she refused to return my attorney's calls for a little while. Eventually, things got back on track. As for the infidelity itself, I don't have a ton more details to share with you. We did a short mediation, and by that time, I didn't feel there was any remorse on her end. I've talked about that a lot with my therapist. I'm in therapy, by the way. It still hurts that someone who I thought loved me could have apparently cared about me so little, but I'm working through it. That's really all I've got to share. Thanks again, everybody, for your advice and support. I honestly wonder if she was like a psychopath or something, because like, how can you just casually do that and then not have any remorse? Like something is not right there with her. Anyway, we'll go to the palate cleanser. Before we go, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You may look at that subscribe button and say, I didn't realize I wasn't subscribed. Let me go ahead and click that button. So let's go to the palate cleanser. It's this video I saw on the r/spread smile subreddit. The title says, "This baby is visually impaired," and then he was given additional glasses so he could see clearly. His smile when he saw his mother and father clearly.
Hi. Hi, Piper. How are you? Hi, can you see? Can you see? Yeah. Hi, honey.
Piper, hi.
Hi, honey. Can you see?
I think she can.
Hi.
Oh. Well, first of all, the title is incorrect because it's a girl, but it's just this little baby. She's probably like, I always feel like I guess wrong with babies' ages. Maybe she was like 6 months or 10 months, maybe like 10 months. She was old enough to be able to sit in one of those high chairs. So there, for anyone who is not watching or unable to watch, it was a baby sitting in a high chair at a restaurant, and the parents put on these like baby glasses, and all of a sudden she was able to see both of them clearly, and she just like staring like, and then looking back and forth between the mom and the dad, and her cheeks, oh my gosh, she got the biggest, cutest, chubbiest cheeks in the freaking world, but she just looks so happy and she's like smiling. She looked like she on the verge of tears at one point. It's just so cute. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.